Hello everybody. It's time for Mr. Knott's Art Studio. Today we are going to learn how to draw water drops, okay? It's kind of tricky because light doesn't behave the same around water as it does around a regular object. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this. I'm going to show you what we're going to be making. Right here, okay? Now I'm doing mine on a small piece of paper just simply because it saves some time. But you can do this on a regular piece of paper just as easily. The first thing I want to do, let's study this for a little bit. The first thing I want to do is I want to give my paper a kind of a gray shading, okay? And then if you notice on an object where like our light is coming in this direction, and the way we can tell is by this right here. There's a shadow on this side of the water drop. But what happens, instead of there being a shadow here, right here, the light is actually going through the water drop and reflecting here, all right? So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do is we need to give our paper a nice shade. So I take my pencil, I usually hold it on the side a little bit. If you have a mechanical pencil, you can push the lead out really far. And I start just giving it a shade like this, kind of covering the whole thing. You don't want to go super dark or anything. And if you're using a large piece of paper, don't try to do the whole paper. You can just do a section of it. Just an area maybe about the size of your palm. That's about how big my piece of paper is. Now to help smooth this out, right now I could probably take my finger and start smudging it. But I like to build up the pencil lead a little bit before I do that. So I'm going the opposite direction to help smooth that out. I can even go a little bit this direction. Now, usually I use a stipple, just a piece of rolled up paper, okay? For this, but since this is a larger area, I'm just going to take my finger. I'm going to kind of just smooth that out just a little bit so it's not a bunch of lines. It doesn't have to be super smooth. We're going to be using a stipple later on. So there we go. So I have a kind of a good base for my drawing, the beginning of my drawing. All right. So there we go. I'm going to kind of let you catch up there for a second. Now, stipple, like I said, is just a piece of rolled up paper. You can buy stipples, and they have a nice point to them. This is a stipple that I use. It's just a piece of paper I've rolled up. But I've made a special one for today where I've rolled it into a nice tight point. And we'll be using that in a little bit later. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to make our first water drop. I'm going to kind of do one about like this, about that shape. Doesn't have to be exact, because you got to think, as soon as something moves, and when I draw this, I'm going to draw a really light line, okay? Okay, not real heavy, just enough to where you can see where it's at. That's a big water spot. It'll be all right. Mine's pretty big. All right, but you want to keep it real light. You're not doing a really hard line around it. Our next shadow, or what we're going to do is we're going to put our shadow, so our light is coming in this direction. You got to remember, it's opposite of what a normal object would be. If I put my pencil down here and the light's coming in this direction, it's going to put a shadow on this side of my pencil. But with water, it does the opposite. So I'm going to do just a light shade. I'm going to start out light right here. So I got my pencil holding on the side like this, and what that does is it also keeps me from putting too much pressure on it. You want to this is something you have to take your time on. You can't get carried away and you don't hold your pencil like that like you normally do, because you'll have a tendency to press too hard. And I'm putting that shadow in there. And I want it to be darkest right along the edge. So I'm going to press just a little bit harder, add a little bit more pressure on the lead. Bring it out this way, kind of come across the water drop. But as I'm coming across the water drop, I'm going to get lighter. It's going to blend out lighter and lighter. But right there around that edge, that's where I want it the darkest. And I'll probably even come in and touch that up some more. So it's always easy to go make something darker. It's not easy to go lighter. That's the basis of the shadow on that side. For the, you also have a glare. Let me show you on this one. You have a glare. This is where the light's coming through right here on this side. So you take your eraser, okay? I have an eraser here. You take an eraser, and I want to lighten it because we shaded all this in. This is why we shaded this in, so that white pops when we compared to its background. Is that light's coming through and bouncing back, coming right to our eyes. So I'm going to erase that and make that as white as I possibly can. You notice how I made it look like it kind of comes to a point right here. So if you have an eraser with a nice sharp corner on it, it makes it a little bit easier. I actually modified this eraser. I cut it to where it makes a sharp corner right there. But you can do this with just a regular eraser on the back of your pencil. And then we're also going to add a glare right here, okay, in that shaded area, because some of that light bounces around inside that water drop. And this is where I'm going to use my sharp corner. I'm going to put a little glare right there. I want to add another one right here too. So I want to come in. Now here's where my stipple comes in. I want to smooth this out. I'm going to go around my glare. Actually, you could do this part before you put in the glare here. I'm going to use my stipple because a water drop is smooth. One of my favorite things about doing art is it's an escape for me. And you'll notice sometimes when I get quiet, it means I've really started sinking into the drawing, and it just starts to kind of flow, and I don't have to think about it much. Kind of like almost just vegging out on TV, but I'm actually producing something. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create our shadow on this side. So the light's coming in this way, bouncing off of this back edge of this. So we see the light there. But it's also going to create what's called a cast shadow. So that cast shadow is going to be on this side of the water drop. As you're working on this, you might be thinking, oh gosh, that doesn't look right. Okay, you might think yours doesn't look right, because I was doing the same thing. I was making mine. I was like, that don't look like a water drop. But then when I stepped back from it just a little bit, I was like, oh, that looks pretty good. So I'm putting a little cast shadow right along this edge. It's going to come out just a little ways, not too far, because a water drop is not, or a water spot isn't far off the ground, so it's not going to make much of a cast shadow. I'm going to make this one pop just a little bit more. So I'm going to kind of darken this edge right here. Just a little bit. And darken this edge too, right around here. It gives that just that little bit of pop to make it jump out just a little bit more. Now you can do these water drops any shape that you want. I'm going to make another one. We're going to make kind of like a teardrop shape, okay? For a teardrop, it's going to come down, and it actually gets kind of skinny at one point, and then it gets fatter at the end because the water is building up. That's where it's trying to almost like escape from. And we follow the same rules that we did earlier, okay? I'm going to create a darker shadow here. It works its way across, getting a little bit lighter at a time. It's a light touch. Remember, all the stuff that we're doing today is a light touch. You're not pushing down hard on that pencil. It's just a light touch. It's almost relaxing just to do that. So I'm going to do the Bob Ross thing. Okay, this water spot needs another friend. He needs a friend, so make another water spot. I don't think my water spots will be as popular as Bob Ross's trees, though. Then I'm going to make my glare or the light on this side of it. Now, if you're doing a teardrop, it doesn't have a line. If you do a line right here, it's going to look kind of funny. So it's just kind of it just kind of blends into it and just kind of starts. I'm going to make that as wide as I can right along that edge. This time I'm going to blend it first. So I'm going to This stipple is really loud because I got it to a point, so it's like a megaphone. And as I'm rubbing on my paper, it's like. I need to find me some cool music to play during my videos. You definitely don't want me to sing. All right. Unless you like the sound of dying cats. All right. Now, now I'm also got to do my glare on the dark side, just a little spot because not as much light is just bouncing around inside that water drop. And then I'm going to do my shadow, my cast shadow, the one that's going to be on the table or the ground. And it's going to be darker right in here, especially because this part of the water drop or the teardrop is higher off of the ground. There's more liquid there. So it might even have a little more cast shadow coming out. When artists work on something, when they're drawing something, they do what's called a study. They call it a study, and you can understand where they get that word from. Why do they call a drawing, or when you're looking at something and you're drawing, you call it a study? It's because you do. You have to study it to understand what's going on, how you're going to draw it to get the right appearance. to get what you want. You're studying, how does that light go? Why is my light coming in this way and it's light, but it's light on this side instead of on this side? So you're actually studying, and there's lots of science. That's why Da Vinci was so into science. He studied everything that he got around. He just seemed like he tried to figure out how it worked and how it could be made better. Okay, so I mean, you can do different drops. You can do circular drops like this. Do some real tiny ones. They kind of that gives it a good effect. Lay them out all over your paper, however you want to do them. So, pretty short lesson today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Practice it. Have fun with it. Take it to another level. However you think you want to do that. Don't just stop at a little piece of paper. See how far you can do it. Maybe you can draw something and even lay it on the counter and trick somebody and see if they can think it's actually real water laying on there. So, I'll catch you later. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. May God bless all your adventures.